Welcome back, everyone, to episode 11 of the Rally Report podcast. Got a seasoned pro joining us today, two-time U.S. national champion, two-time gold medalist for the 2019 Pan Am Games, former Dartmouth grad, and now co-founder of the RIA Eyewear. Welcome, Chris Hanson. How are you, man?
I'm great, Sean. How are you doing?
Good. Might be a huge assumption here, but it seems you've taken a step back from the tour lately. I haven't really seen you around other than, I think the last time you played was the World Champs in Chicago.
Are you sure I played in that? I was there very quickly, but yeah, it's the pandemic hit, and I, for lack of a better way of saying it, decided to take a little break, especially in 2020. After the Pan Ams in 2019, I was having some lower back pain and issues, and decided it was a good time to really put the racket down for a little bit, heal those up. And then on top of that, it's just been tough. It's been tough with pro squash in general. I commend all the players who are out there pushing it still, but just competing in the tournaments with the way COVID has gone, it's definitely been difficult. So it was a good time for me to take a step back and be at home and enjoy not being on tour just for a little bit. So definitely a step back. I enjoyed playing at Worlds, but it was a quick trip.
Yeah. Was it tough to put it down initially? Because I know it seemed like you were hitting your stride, especially during that period of 2016 to that 3-year period.
Sure.
With back-to-back national titles and just moving up the ranks as well. Were you irritated by the injury?
Yeah, I honestly, the injury was not an excuse, but I was struggling after Pan Am's. It was such a big high for us to go to Lima and win 2 golds. I mean, I had never won a gold at Pan Am's. The girls do so spectacularly well over the years, winning golds, and I think the men's team had a lot to catch up to, at least try. And it was so awesome to win even the first gold in doubles with Todd, and then to follow it up and win on the team level with Andrew as well. After that, I kind of struggled a little bit. I obviously have my ranking goals that I wanted to go after, but it was just such a high that I found that fall I was really struggling with training and being at events. It was just it was tough. So I actually don't think I would rather not a pandemic at all, but it wasn't a tough time for me to take a little step back. I think by January, February of 2020, I was needing a break regardless. And I think that's the way a lot of the Pan Am athletes feel, or any athletes who compete through the summer. When you add a summer schedule to a lengthy PSA season in general, it just you just get tired. So I mean, as far as my career goes, it's definitely a tough time to take a break. But I think when it's needed, you just have to accept that.
Are you gearing up for a comeback soon, or are you still?
You never leave a comeback, out of the question. But it's been tough. I think what I found that I miss the most is not really the tournaments. I miss training. I miss being around the guys and the girls and having good hard sessions every day. And I don't know, it's fun. It's fun working towards your goals together day in and day out. For me, I was never a huge fan of the events. Not that I didn't like to compete, but they're just hard. They're really hard, and that part I don't miss too much. So it's really the day in day out training that was always the most fun.
Yeah. Wait. So speaking of training, where are you located right now?
So I live in Center City in Philadelphia. So I'm right across the street actually from the Racket Club of Philly, where I do some training with Amanda Sobey, Sabrina Sobey, a couple of my friends from college live in the area. It's been really nice, especially with the pandemic, since it's such a small club, and kind of allowed me to start doing a little training and get back into it. But I am about a 30-minute walk from the Spectre Center, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so I was about to follow up with that question. Have you been training at the Spectre Center as well, or all the American players are moving over there as a hub?
Sure. Yeah. It's been an interesting transition for everybody on Team USA with the Spectre Center opening up. It's such an incredible place. I mean, to train at. It's just everybody's at a different point in their career. The pandemic kind of coincided with launching our business, and it's just my schedule is now a little different than it used to be in terms of during the day. So unfortunately, I can't get over to the center quite as much as I would like, especially just during the regular work hours. But I do try to get over there. I was getting over there a little more in the summer and the early fall, and then things happen and schedules get crazy. So I'm hopeful that in the new year I can start to pop over there a little more, be a part of some of the training sessions, because I love to see some of the young guys and girls really come through, and I don't know, it would be fun to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see the Spectre Center opening up and Philly becoming a really hub for U.S. squash and just U.S. squash in general. But it's been interesting. I think I talked with Andrew about this too. I mean, we see a lot of success on the women's side for U.S. squash, but we haven't really seen a lot of success in the men's side since, you, Todd, Andrew, Chris Gordon. Do you think there's a specific reason to why we haven't seen as much success?
It's a good question, and I think even I wouldn't compare me and Gordo and Todd to the top girls yet, because clearly they're making inroads. Amanda's 3, Sabrina, Olivia are all in top 20. It's just incredible to see. It's a good question. I don't know if it's explainable other than we need to have more guys coming through the system. I think they had a nice group of girls coming through in similar times to follow each other's footsteps. If you think of the kind of the break between me and Todd to the next generation is Andrew, Timmy, and Spencer, and those guys are 7-8 years younger than us, right? It's just there's a huge lapse there between the system kind of bringing more players consistently through for us to try to essentially find the person who is going to be able to achieve those levels. But I don't know. It's everybody's different. For so long we were training all with different coaches, and I think it'll be interesting to see if we can build a system at the center that allows for that faster development of players. To try to bring a guy along and get them to the top 20.
You've been a part of U.S. squash for quite some time now, and do you think they've supported you or just supported people who want to go professional in the U.S. appropriately, or do you think they need to be doing a better job of that?
I mean, in my personal opinion, I think they've done a great job. I think everything is relative. When I started out, the funding was what it was, and it was kind of all over the place. We didn't really know, who's getting what, why they're getting this, where we're supposed to be. Are we supposed to be doing anything for U.S. squash? It was very, it was at the starting point of getting this going. And I mean, compared to most other federations, we are funded incredibly well. And that has only gotten better over the last 10 years. And it's been a fun thing to be a part of, to try to grow that. And obviously there's always going to be growing pains with these kinds of things. But honestly, it's been constant support from the standpoint of we're trying to figure out how to do right by the athletes, and we're trying to get better. And we can't always do that, but we're making our best effort. And I think that's important. Right? Because again, the way squash and the whole kind of pro tour works is it's not elevated to the level of tennis yet, where you can do well on prize money. You need that sport, whatever it may be. And I think U.S. squash has done a great job.
Yeah. So you initially turned pro in 2013 after you graduated from Dartmouth. And was it always in the plan for you to go professional, or is that something that was made up?
Yeah, pretty much. 2010 is when I started playing PSA. So I started playing in college. I went and played in the summers and got rocked, which was incredible. Had literally zero idea, because honestly, the way college was then is not, I don't think, anywhere near where the college level is now with some of the kids coming through and already being at a certain level. So I went and got my teeth cut, pretty early in college. on the pro tour, and guys that I thought I was better than on, just looking at their swings and everything, they were just willing to work so much harder than me, right? And I didn't know what the pro ethos was, what the lifestyle was like, and I thought I would just walk over people, and didn't even come close. So that was a wake up call. But I as soon as everybody in college started doing recruiting and looking for internships, I was just focused on how do I successfully launch my career once I graduate from here, and working with my coaches to figure out the best way to do that. So yeah, it was pretty much always in the cards.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a personal interest of me. I'm curious because of simply how little money there is in the sport of squash. I was wondering, did you map out your career when you were like, I'm going to turn professional? Did you foresee yourself to be in the position you are in right now?
Yeah, it's I think you can always look back and say I could have done things a little differently, a little better, planned a little more. But at the time, I graduated just as I had tore my hamstring, so it was perfect timing to sit there and think about myself and if I should actually do this, first of all, and then second of all, when I can actually play again and go through all this rehab and everything. What do I need? What are the tools that I need? And I spent that time developing a lot of great relationships with some early sponsors, and just built almost my own fan base around kind of my career and saying, look, I need help. You can support my career, help me get off the ground, help be a part of it, because here's my goals. And people respond very well to being a part of your team, right? I never asked people for money and said, now go away, right? Like no one responds to that. I wanted people to be on the journey with me, and that's how I got the best response from, I don't know, so many wonderful people who have supported me over the years. And I think if you start with that, again, all the other planning, is what it is, but you need a great base of support to do this kind of professional sport.
So were you always thinking of getting sponsorships? Is that like one of the top priorities for you?
Yeah, I think everybody's different, but I mean, the way I think about it is trying to run yourself as a small business, right? How do you give value to somebody else before you think about what they can give back to you, right? Like, of course I want a racket sponsorship, and I need shoes, and I need money, and I need all this, but the first question I always ask myself is why should anybody give you anything, right? And to me, I tried to take that into every exhibition, every sponsorship, that I said, you know what, they're looking for the most energy possible from me, the best effort, and for everybody to I don't know, get something out of my being there, right? And so that's how I'd always pitch either companies or individual sponsors, whoever it may be, and make them feel like, I'm just as invested in what they're going to get as hopefully they're invested in me. And if they wasn't the right fit, then there's no hard feelings. But I try to shy away. I don't like to hear some athletes when they say, I deserve this, I need this. Well, of course you do, but everybody needs something. So so that's just kind of the way I thought about it.
All right. Speaking of your time at Dartmouth, I saw that you're part of the Sphinx Senior Society and Alpha Delta fraternity. You want to tell us? And you're obviously coached under the legendary Hansi, and I think a lot of people on Instagram were curious to hear about stories from your time at Dartmouth. If you could share some, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, I loved every second of going to Dartmouth. I had a great time. I think for me, and there are people out there who say a lot about, well, like, if you go to school, you're passing up on those 4 years of, getting your pro career off the ground, and this, that, and the other, lots of things. At the time, I just tried to do it all. I tried to play as much squash as I could. Hansi became, incredibly close to me. He was at my wedding a few months ago, became a mentor and, just a very close friend. But then at Dartmouth, I had the ability to also go completely outside of squash, right? And meet new people that, again, I never would have met growing up, and come from all different backgrounds. And I was lucky to be able to join Alpha Delta fraternity and get picked to be in Sphinx. It was really fun. It was very different from being on the squash team, where even though you're on a team, you're playing an individual sport. You go to battle by yourself. At the end of the day, it comes down to you, whether you can perform or not. And these experiences outside of that were so great for me. They really helped balance how hard I was trying to get better at squash with something that allowed me to unburden a little bit and enjoy, what everybody else was doing at Dartmouth. I cherish those moments off court just as much as what I was able to do at Dartmouth on court.
Yeah. Wait,
I certainly had a good time.
Well, tell us about the Sphinx Senior Society. I didn't really know what that was.
Yeah, so I mean, Dartmouth has senior societies, and every all of them have some different ethos, and I can't tell you what goes on in Sphinx per se, or else they would kick me out. But no, it's a group of guys at Dartmouth. At least mine was an all male one, and we just have a lot of the same values, right? A lot of the same thoughts about service to the community, and how we show our appreciation of Dartmouth, and it's really just I don't know. It's a group of like-minded individuals who find ways to give back to the community. So I all these things off the court were incredible. But again, that was my senior year. I mean, Alpha Delta was probably even closer to me than Sphinx, just because I was there sophomore, junior, and senior year, and that was really incredible. To this day, some of my best friends are from AD at my wedding. So it's just I don't know. It's one of those things that maybe I'm a poster boy for college squash, but I mean, getting the full experience is just incredible. And I think there's a way to do it. I think if you're diligent, you can play squash at a very high level. You can do well in school, and you can have a great time. It's not easy by any means. I think at any given time you could find yourself doing a little bit too much of one or the other, and I've certainly seen that in some of my friends, and I don't fault them for that. But I felt like I was able to walk that line for 4 years, and it was great.
I mean, it seems more and more kids are going to college squash and making it work and doing fantastically well on the tour as well.
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that wanted to not go to college and go professional right away, or was this a debate within yourself, or not really?
I had these like crazy transitions with my own squash. When I was like 16, 17, I didn't even know if I wanted to keep playing squash. I was like, well, I was number 2 in the country by the time U19's my senior year, and I hate the fact that I wasn't enjoying my squash that much, because I don't want to say I was number 2 and I didn't care. And it's not like I didn't care. I just wasn't enjoying it that much for whatever reason. And kind of the turnaround for me was I went to Dartmouth. I got there. I think earlier that summer, I had gone to see John Power and Hansi. And Hansi, at the time, we still had scoring to 9. He beat me 9-0, 9-0, 9-0. And I went home and I essentially was like, okay, these guys just recruited you to an Ivy League school, and this is the level of effort you're going to give them. This is what you're bringing. Like, it's just unacceptable. I was very disappointed in myself at that time that I would be their number 1 recruit. And even though Hansi obviously was top 10 in the world, which I didn't even know at the time, I was like, that's just bad. It's just bad. And so, just based on that thought alone, I started training hard again, and something clicked and turned around, and I really started enjoying it all again. And from there is when I started to kind of build up the momentum to say, okay, if you can do well in college, you have a shot at doing well on tour. My coach for most of my life was Rod Martin. So in kind of conjunction with Hansi, we all spoke about, you should give the tour a shot. You have a good shot to do well. It's not going to be easy, but you do have a good shot to do well. So it was a conjunction of kind of that turnaround in college for me, plus, like I said, having the right support around that made me feel like I wanted to play.
When was the first time you beat Hansi?
That's a good question. I probably should have written down the date and framed my racket and sent it to him or something for his birthday. But I don't remember which year it was. It was in college, and he wasn't happy. He definitely wasn't happy. But he just said, next time I'm going to chop you, as he does. So we've just had such a fun time on court. He has such a different style, and I learned a lot from him. Just opening myself up to a different perspective, which I had never really done before. I was very, very closed-minded, earlier on in my college career. And I think there's lots to learn from every coach out there, and he certainly had a lot to teach. So, I was open to that, and we had a great relationship.
Well, Chris, you mentioned about, having those internal battles when you're younger. Did you struggle with this during your careers, throughout your career as well? Or once you decided to go pro, you never looked back on that?
The only time that I had a really tough time was 2016. I started the year off playing probably some of the best squash that I played in my career. I started to beat some of the guys that were ranked in the top 50, top 40, making some big runs, winning a little bit more. Finally, the first few years I was like, really excited and getting beat pretty badly. But I was finally starting to make some strides, getting my ranking up. And June of 2016, I was in a car accident and sustained a concussion that unfortunately put me out of playing for about 7 or 8 months. And it was severe enough where I wanted to stop playing squash. I was really struggling physically and mentally just to get myself to go down to the courts, and the lights, the sound of the ball was very jarring, and because of that, it was almost like a vicious cycle where I was like, oh, I can't be here. I don't feel like being here. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I would be at home, and I would be like, well, if I'm not there, what am I doing? I don't know anything else but squash. So that was a really tough time for me. And I was lucky to have such, again, like I said, going back to the support, my family was just like, look, take your time. And then one day Rod Martin just said, look, here's what we're going to do. You're just going to come down every day, and you're just going to sit outside the back. You're going to watch everybody play. We're just going to chat. We're not going to do anything. You don't have to play. Maybe you jump on the treadmill. Maybe you run for 20 minutes, get a little sweat. That's all you're going to do, but you're going to do it every day. And very slowly, I got myself kind of out of this funk that I was in, that I couldn't tell if it was, physical or mental. And eventually, they helped me get out of it. And funnily enough, that was December that I finally started getting back into it. And I won my first nationals 3 months later in March.
Wow.
And I guess it was a quick turnaround because I attribute it completely to, he was just like, look, you literally have nothing to lose. I think when I was going into nationals in March, he said something along the lines of, look, you probably are not going to win. So just enjoy yourself for once. Like you put so much pressure on. There's no pressure here. You haven't been, training for months and months for this. You're still, at a certain level where you can compete. Just enjoy it. And I end up winning. Right. And it's crazy. It's crazy how that happens. But long-winded way and story of that was probably the one time in my career where I really was like, I don't know if I want to or can play anymore. So,
well, so that first national title, you beat Andrew Douglas in the final.
Yep.
How did it feel? Because I'm sure he was just coming up he kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The senior scene.
No, totally.
Was there pressure considering the age gap difference?
It's funny that whole tournament was interesting. I didn't feel great in the early rounds, but I pushed through. And I think my biggest challenge there, not that the finals wasn't a huge challenge, but I don't think I had ever beat Chris Gordon before. And we played in the semifinals. And I believe it was this year. I'm pretty sure it was this year. I was up 2-love, and I was playing phenomenally. I gotten all the jitters out in the round of 16 and quarterfinals. Up to love. He just kind of laces it up, sticks in, wins the next two games, and I, was like, oh no, here we go. Got off to a good start in the fifth, and just pushed away, chipped away, and won it. But for me, that was such a huge moment to overcome him, because we're very close, and
Yeah.
I don't expect him now or ever, and I didn't then, to ever give me an inch, and he doesn't. So for me to be actually able to beat him in that tournament, because nationals is just so important to us, from a kind of an emotional level, to finally beat him there, I was very proud of myself for pushing through that, and that actually probably almost gave me a little bit of, I was relaxed in the final, that I was like, okay, like, you got through that, like, Andrew just beat Todd, which is an incredible thing. But today he's not going to beat you. He's just not going to beat you. You're just going to be here the whole time until you've won. That's it. You're just not going to lose this match, right? And that's what Rod said to me as well. He was just like, you're just not losing this. That's it. And so, I mean, it was hard. It was a hard fought game. I felt like I had the right game plan going in to deal with some of his pushes. I knew he would have this ebb and flow of, this is a big final, and I could capitalize on some mistakes, and then I would also have to defend against some of his incredible energy pushes. But I was able to do it, and very weirdly, it was like deja vu the next year, and the exact same thing happened. Same thing.
Yeah.
I beat Chris in the semifinal. Andrew beat Todd again in the other semifinal, and I beat him 3-1 in the final. So and I said to myself, I was like, you know what? Like I said, I wasn't feeling any pressure, but I did say to myself during both of those finals, I was like, you know what? He has a very long time to win this thing. I probably don't. So I'm going to take these two while I can get them, Andrew, and you can win it in like 2025. Okay.
You take a step back. But also, real quick, as a lefty myself, I've always been curious. I think you're the first left-handed player I'm interviewing. How's that dynamic been as a lefty on tour? Because you don't really see a lot of lefties on tour.
Yeah, it's classic, right? People just pick on my backhand, left, right, and central, and that's totally fine. And I think it's always been on me to strengthen that and get better at it. And if I could go back, I'd probably just solo practice backhand volleys for an eternity, because that's all people do. But I was lucky that I for pretty much my entire professional career was training with Ryan Kiskelly, one of the best lefties, and learned so much from him on how to deal with this kind of thing, and where to capitalize as a lefty, with little forehand kills on the left side, and just trying to, even in the last few years, utilize the backhand lob better to completely neutralize people just sending balls over the right hand side of the court all the time, and not trying so hard to be like, oh, well, maybe I just need to hit my backhand even harder than they do, right? Instead, be like, oh, I can neutralize this completely by just saying, like, whatever they put over to the right side, it just needs to go back in a way that they can't attack it. So it was always awesome getting to learn from him. He was such a special player.
Yeah. And I mean, moving on now, I'd be remiss not to mention the RIA Eyewear. So I'm so curious about this.
Yeah.
How did the launch begin? Has this been something on your mind always, or also was it for the purpose of squash? Because I know there's other products for tennis and pickleball as well.
Yeah, no, I'll try to shorten it up, because it is a bit long. I will admit that when I graduated from college, I was excited not to wear goggles anymore as a professional player. And then I got to nationals. 2014 was my first nationals, U.S. nationals, and they were like, "Well, you have to wear eyewear here," and I was like, "That's BS! Like, I'm a professional player. This is ridiculous." I probably caused, a ruckus, and gave them an incredibly hard time. And what do you know? I ended up launching an eyewear company a couple of years later. But it really came out of I played those nationals, and I was just not happy with the level of performance that any of the eyewear out there was giving me, given the fact that we've seen these incredible companies innovate in rackets and shoes, and things are getting so much better on that front, for me, I was like, well, isn't how you see the ball just as important as how you hit it and how you move? If I can't see because my glasses have fogged or because they've scratched a million times, I can't see the ball properly. I'm not going to time it properly, and I'm not going to move properly. So again, my investment in my rackets and my shoes are kind of lessened, from an effective standpoint because I can't see the ball properly. And I come from, when I was in juniors, you could wear Oakley's. Oakley's doesn't pass the squash specific safety standard, so you can't wear those when you play.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why technically you should not wear Oakley's when you play squash. Same thing with Rudy Project. And these are big, eyewear companies that build wonderful products, but none of it's for squash, right? They're focused on cycling, running, all these other bigger sports. So for me in like 2016, 2017, I was just like, I've had enough. I think I can figure out how to make them better, right? Make a higher performing pair of eyewear that I would actually like to wear. Go after anti-fog, go after the breakage issue, build something that's more of an investment in my performance, and that I could wear for a really long time and take care of. The same way I used to take care of my Oakleys when I was a kid, right? So I actually ended up teaming up with a buddy of mine, Jordan Kemp. He played college tennis at Trinity for Paul Assayante, who was actually the tennis coach at the time. So just very small world. We went to middle school together, and he played for Paul, and I'm very close with Paul. So it was just funny when we regrouped. And so
did you reach out to him, or was this just like a conversation you guys were having? And we're like, you know what, this would be a great idea.
Yeah, so we had stayed very close, and he wanted to get into working with startups, and he was doing that in New York City with a couple startups in much different spaces than the eyewear space, but he was doing some consumer stuff. And I said, hey man, let me take you for sushi. Let me tell you about this idea. See what you think. Took him for sushi, and he had a great chat. And essentially, he was like, let me think about it. Like, we'll do a little research, and we'll see. Like, maybe I'll help you for a little bit. Here we are, like 4 or 5 years later, and he's my 50-50 partner, and that's how it works out, right? So it was just so great when we decided to do this together officially. But how we did it was essentially, where's the best eyewear in the world made? For us, we thought it was Italy, which we still believe. The best sports eyewear is coming out of Italy. It's mostly the innovation is around cycling and running and esports, and we were like, how do we take that innovation and we put it into squash? Because again, my thought is that squash players are some of the hardest working athletes in the world. They're going, so fast, so hard for so long. They need the best stuff, right? So we found a lens maker, we found a frame maker, we did all our own designs for it. We were getting ready to go, and COVID hits. So we had, at the same time, because we wanted to, eventually we were like, look, this is not just a product. We want to build a business around better performing, call it eyewear, but to do sunglasses as well. So we had been planning to launch a line of tennis and pickleball sunglasses, which we ended up doing instead of our squash eyewear first. Just because the pandemic pretty much shut every indoor sport down. It was just, it just wasn't right for our business to try to launch. I wasn't playing, a lot of my friends weren't playing, just said, I got to take time off. And at the same time, tennis and pickleball participation went up 25% in 2020 and just took off. And we were like, look, for a business, we have to launch this product first. And so we did. So we launched in the summer of 2020. I had a proud moment. We sold out our first year of inventory. We sold it out in 2 months.
Wow.
And I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. And it was incredible. It was incredible. Cause it's a very different feeling than being on court and expressing yourself through a game. Now it's through a product, and I can tell you have these jitters that, you're about to launch and you think nobody's going to like it. So
Yeah.
it was awesome, and it's been awesome.
I think it's so cool, especially with squash players. I think Paul Cole launches his clothing brand. I think with you with the RIA Eyewear, I think it's very fascinating. And the one thing I'm curious about is how you go about marketing squash goggles. Just because I think a lot of people have very specific opinions about goggles. I think a lot of people are excited to get off the goggles once they graduate their junior years. So how do you go about marketing that?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. I mean, I wear my own products. I don't shy away from that. And again, I built the product so that I could wear it. So every time I'm on court, I mean, I feel like these don't interrupt my game whatsoever. I've played with glasses on for the last 2 years now since we launched the company. My feeling is you should not have to sacrifice your performance for your safety, and vice versa, right? I mean, again, we have these examples over the years of people getting hit in the eyes. Daryl Selby now wears glasses. He wears one of our models actually, because someone hit a behind the back ball into his eye. I mean, this kind of stuff happens. And look, I'm not here to preach about look, pros have to wear this kind of thing. I just thought it was unacceptable that if you wanted something that protected you for squash, you had to choose something that didn't perform to the standard that all these other sports have great glasses for, right? And so that was always my thought. And that really goes to the technical side of how do we address anti-fog? How do we address the eyewear breaking or slipping? How do we really have the best optics for somebody? And that's kind of what we're leading with our marketing. And again, I mean, it's mostly a college and junior play. I mean, I think we're going to get a lot of adult amateurs who also believe in eyewear. But for us, again, the way I look at the kind of stuff that's out there is that people are okay with buying a $30 pair, snapping it a month later, and just buying it again. I want you to buy our stuff. Yeah, I want you to buy our stuff, and I don't want to see you for 4 years. See you later. Right. And so that's the kind of the way we think about it, because you shouldn't have to be repeat buying glasses. Right. That's not the business we're in.
Yeah, that's true. The amount of goggles I think I've gone through just within the 4 years at college.
Oh, yeah.
Like
totally.
Everything breaks, the side breaks, everything. Yeah. That's true.
That's where we're coming from. And I mean, that's why we sit at a different price point than everybody else. And, the other part of our model is that I understand squash and kids and maybe even not kids. Everybody potentially does something to their lenses, right? So we built this pair to be interchangeable in such a way where if you break your lenses you can't really break your lenses, but if you scratch your lenses, you need new ones, you can replace them with us for less than the cost of a new pair of any of our competitors' eyewear. Mm-hmm. $30, right? So for me, again, the model is built such that this is sustainable for somebody to have that performance over 5-10 years, right? You don't have to reinvest every single year in a new pair of goggles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully the college squash kids who are tuning into this podcast here's this segment and gets themselves a pair of eyewear with the new. Is it the Model 2 that you guys just launched?
Model 2, yeah. No, it's fun. It's been really fun. It's been fun balancing building product. I like building product. I think it's really fun with building the actual business. That's obviously been an incredible experience as well. Totally different from being on tour. And again, like you mentioned with Paul's line of clothing, I recommend this for any player to get out there and think about ways to build their own companies, build their own products, and this kind of thing, because it's not easy. It forces you to think a lot differently than how you think about things when you're on tour, right? It's very different and it's very rewarding. So it's been a really fun few years doing this.
Yeah. No. Have you guys thought about sponsoring squash players with RIA Eyewear? Or?
Yeah. No. It's. I'll tell you, with the global supply chain, it's been really. It just lengthened our process a little, getting this model launched. We were on track for August, September for a good period of time, and then just things got tough in 2021. Just with supply chain, and so we launched our first run earlier this month for Christmas. We finally got it here, but yeah, as we enter 2022, we're definitely going to be looking to sponsor some college players, some juniors. I think we'll probably do some of the doubles guys.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't view any of the pros on the singles tour as being wildly interested in this. But I sponsor myself.
Well, we better see more of you at the tour then.
I know. I might have to make a comeback. I can't be letting Spencer and Timmy and these boys beat me up just yet. So
A couple more years.
yeah, exactly.
Well, Chris, we're going to move on to something I could do the quick fire segment where I just ask you a bunch of quick questions and just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Thoughts on best of three?
I like it. I like it a lot. Very entertaining.
You think that the tour should be incorporating more best of three tournaments for the higher platinum levels?
I do, at least for maybe some of the early rounds. I think it would be very entertaining. I think it potentially makes the finals, semifinals, later rounds a little more have a little more energy. People are not dead from 16 5-gamers before that. So I think it'd be great.
Well, okay. Actually, to follow up on that, do you think these tournaments should require rest days in between? Because it seems squash does not really have the rest day.
I would like to see it done more often, almost as a test, just to see if it is something that behooves the players and can act a little more like the way tennis tournaments do, where these players are getting a significant amount of rest between matches, and then they're obviously able to go 100%. So I think as far as testing it out a little more, I'd love to see it. I think obviously with the COVID situation, they're trying to make tournaments as short as possible, but
Yeah.
Barring COVID, at some point, yes, that would be great.
Usually I ask this question, but I think this is pretty straightforward. I usually ask thoughts on goggles and squash.
Love them. I'm a huge advocate.
Thoughts on soloing versus practicing in groups. Which do you prefer?
Practicing in groups.
Commentators for squash.
I love Joey and PJ and Drew and I would love to see some more people doing it. Not that they're not amazing, but it would just be fun to keep seeing more and more people do it. I think Ashley Blake does well. She's great. But again, I think there's so many funny people on the tour, and if the timing was right, I would love to see more of those personalities in the booth. It's just fun.
Would you consider doing commentating?
I would give it a try. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the chops, but I'd certainly try.
Yeah. Thoughts on college squash?
I was working with Dartmouth for a couple of years and just loving it. I love the energy in college squash. I haven't gotten to in the last few years, so I haven't been quite up to date. But I just think the level that's being produced in college right now and the competitiveness is really something to watch. It's so much fun. I hope we continue to get more teams across the college landscape playing. Come down south, go out west. I'm down in North Carolina right now. I would love to see UNC and Duke have teams and battle it out with each other. I mean, that the college rivalry thing is so incredible. So huge advocate for college squash growing.
Do you follow along with what's happening right now, or have you kind of?
I do. I mean, to some extent.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but I think with college squash kind of being a little tumultuous with some of the schools being virtual again, and Dartmouth, I don't think is going to have spectators this year. It's just a tough time. I think we're all just trying to get through together and see how we can do best and right by the kids who are playing because they deserve it the most. But it's such a challenging time.
Yeah. Nicknames for PSA players.
Controversially, I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. I mean, I think if something is very natural, like people calling Federer Fed or Nadal Rafa, like or Joker, like those things seem very natural. But I think there's a little too much effort. I apologize if I hurt anybody's feelings on that, but not for me. Not that I would ever get one either, but
yeah, no, I mean, I feel like a lot of people that I've interviewed so far have very mixed feelings about for squash. Thoughts on coaching post career?
I it's not for me right now. Just in terms of taking on people for a significant period of time and trying to help them grow. I love doing clinics. I love doing exhibitions where I can come and be a part of somebody's community for a day or two. But I'm just not in the place right now as a player or in my life where I would take that on. But certainly down the road, would love to work with some young players or teams. But just down the road.
Yeah. A little more juicy ones. Most underrated player on tour right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm sitting at 141 right now. Maybe it might be me. It might be me. No, that's such a good question. I don't know. I feel like I've been seeing the same faces in the PSA events right now. I haven't. I think you just. Well, I don't know if she's underrated, but Georgina Kennedy, who you just had on here, I've been following some of her results. Have been pretty crazy. So, I mean, nuts. I'm excited to see her come through.
Yeah, I spoke to her yesterday, and I think she's going to be ranked 17 in the new year.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, that's so great.
I was going to ask you most overrated player on tour, but I don't know if you want to answer that question.
Oh, back earlier in the year when I was still like 65 in the world, it was me.
I'm going to switch the question. One player you dislike playing?
Playing. Oh man,
it's always giving you a hard time.
Well, Todd and I have been battling since we were, I think, like 7 years old, and I had such like a mental block against him for some reason. I'd beat players that he would beat, and then that would beat him, and then he would come over and just smack me. And I'd be like, well, I don't understand. Why is there not some transitive property here where I get to beat him now, right? So I think he was always the hardest for me to play. We had a great match in the last nationals that I played, 2019. He beat me 3-1 in the final. But I would say hardest to play. I didn't enjoy it because I would beat myself up about it. But we always so respectful of each other, and he's been a great friend for such a long time.
Mm-hmm. Best college squash player as of now?
Man, see, this is where I got to get caught up on college squash. I mean, I think unless I'm totally mistaken, it has to be Victor Cruin. He's just taking it to another level. I mean, he's going to another level on PSA, which is so much fun to watch. He's such a nice guy, and in the last year or so of playing on tour before the pandemic started, I got to go to a couple of events with him, and he's just I don't know. It sucks because he's so nice, right?
Yeah.
He's better than you, and you want him to be mean and not be nice, but he's great. So definitely. I know he's closing out his college squash career, but I mean his trajectory over college has been awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see him after he graduates as well.
Definitely.
All right, so we're going to move on to some life-related ones. Favorite place you visited through squash?
I would say Guatemala City. My favorite tournament by far, nicest people in the world. I had the best time. I mean, it's one of those events that you don't know about until you go. It's at the Sporta Club, and it's one of those invaluable ones where you say this kind of event is makes all the other parts of squash, the money, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's an experience. It took me around the city, took me to different parts of the country, and just treated me like family. I mean, it was wild. I had never had that before. And it was just great.
Alcohol drink of choice?
Probably just a cold beer, man. Just a cold beer.
What's your favorite beer?
Stella? Probably Stella, yeah. Just very simple, straight to the point, easy.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Coffee.
Big coffee.
Yeah.
Biggest fear?
Ooh. Biggest, that I will regret not doing something either in my career in squash or professionally, that I didn't try hard enough.
Biggest pet peeve?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't think I can say one of these without sounding pompous. Like if I said, like, I don't like when people have typos. That's just silly. Oh, I don't like it when someone cuts me off in traffic and then doesn't just at least put their hand up and say sorry. Come on. I don't care.
Are you a rage driver, Chris?
I rage for a tiny second and then I let it go. I just get sad. I'm like, why can't you just say you're sorry? It's not. Come on.
It's not hard to do.
It's not hard.
Tennis or squash?
Ooh, well, I don't know why I paused. Squash, 100%. I love tennis. I grew up with tennis, playing tennis, watching tennis. I go to the U.S. Open every year that I can. But even having played squash professionally, I love watching squash. I love watching what the guys and the girls are doing these days and the level they're going to. So definitely squash.
Favorite movie?
Oh my God, someone just asked me this the other day. Let's go The Hobbit.
It's a good one. Favorite song?
Lose Yourself, Eminem.
What job or sport if it weren't for squash?
I would probably sell the best eyewear in the world. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I honestly at some point would love to be a college coach. I think of any college sport. It doesn't have to be squash. The college has so much. The college games have so much energy. Young talent who have just found like these incredibly like athletic bodies that they are now growing into and have so much potential. And you need to foster that the right way. It would just be fun.
Favorite non-squash athlete?
Roger Federer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And favorite squash athlete as of now?
Oh. Probably Amr Shabana. Just as a lefty, just I don't know. He was part of that generation of Egyptians that just paved the way and unbelievably classy as he did it. Just fun to watch, always.
Yeah. How about favorite squash player to watch right now?
I'm really enjoying watching Paul Cole. I mean, his level of concentration is otherworldly right now, and I think a lot of people have said over the years, things about his technique, and you can't say that he hasn't worked so hard on that to be a pretty complete squash player right now. It's just really fun to watch. I know some of the other players probably are doing, some things that are out of this world, but for him to put that together, to be where he is now, I find that very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now I got two more questions for you. Favorite story from tour?
Favorite story from tour is probably, hopefully this is all right. Guatemala City, myself, Ryan Kiskelly, Peter Creed, and I think Chris Simpson was there. Like I said, they were treating us like family, taking us out to all these events and things. Ryan and I were late to one of them, and we took a cab. Neither of us speak Spanish. Ryan, despite the fact that his wife is from Argentina, his Spanish at the time was not great. And so we ended up somewhere in the city that was not correct. And both looked at each other, and I was like, I'm not getting out of this cab. I refuse. And Ryan's like, oh, we'll walk. We'll find it. I was like, no chance, dude. Absolutely not. Turned on my cell phone. Like I had it on airplane mode. I think it cost me at the time $200 to make this call. Didn't care. Yeah. And we ended up keeping that cab and going 25 minutes in a different direction to get to the actual place that was like within a gated community that was incredibly nice and was the right place. And I was like, dude, I'm never listening to you ever again. But later on in the night, we had, I think, like just, incredible time with them. Ended up going out to the clubs with them, very late night. It was really fun. We ended up hitching a ride in the back of a pickup truck all the way back up the mountain to where we were staying in like open air at like 5 a.m. And it was just one of those things where you just sit there and you just say like, yeah, that was pretty fun. That was a good time.
It was a wild night. Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't get off where we thought we were getting off, but it was fun. And I mean, most of my time on tour with those guys, they're just such fun people off court as well that, every tournament was pretty much fun, win or lose, that was the beauty of it. So.
And favorite Hansi story?
Favorite Hansi story. Yeah, I mean, again, just going to the first time I beat him. I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast. His racket did not make it out. He was absolutely steaming, and I was in like shock because while I was beating him, I was like, "Is this actually happening?" And it was just delightful. It was delightful in such a like we're friends way. So I'm enjoying beating you finally because I know every time you beat me, you're like, oh yeah, man, it's all right. Like maybe next time you get a couple more points. I don't know. Like, and I used to just steam over that. So beating him was just probably the funniest one. Yeah. But we had some great times. He was great at my wedding. I mean, he was with me and my Dartmouth friends, and they all know him very well as well. So it was just so nice. He's at the parties with us, having a great time. So it was great.
Well, yeah, going to wrap it up there, folks. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to Chris for joining in.
Yeah, Sean, thank you. It was fun to do this. I love talking squash. I'm glad we could talk some Iowa as well.